Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone, and welcome to Notes from Nurhdyhaz. Welcome to the podcast. I really hope that everybody has been doing good, great, and well, insyaAllah. And welcome to another episode of Inspiration, where I have guests and friends over to share their means of inspiration, and more importantly, for us to get inspired by their life journeys, insyaAllah. So, as for today, I have Khairun Atika with me. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Hello everyone. My name is Khairun Atika. I'm an author. I've written 2 books, which I believe Hidayah has mentioned about a few times. So writing is my pastime. I'm actually a full-time kindergarten teacher. So I try to juggle being a teacher and a writer.
MashaAllah. Perhaps as an introduction, could you share a little bit more about how do you juggle with that?
Okay, so actually I started writing when I was younger. I think ever since I was in polytechnic, so I was studying. I was not exactly a big fan of what I was studying, so I think as an escape, I write in my spare time. So I read a lot, and from reading a lot, I start to write a lot. So I dabble in poetry, so I write short stories, and then eventually I start to think to myself, why not write a whole book? So when I was thinking of what to write about, I know that most people think that we should write from experience. But I also came across an author who said that you can write from empathy, from what you feel strongly about. So from there, I actually started to write about my own personal experiences. So from my first book, New Beginnings, I actually wrote about a young woman, a Muslimah who is a teacher, a preschool teacher, someone familiar as well. So who is just navigating through life, and then of course it's based on what I like, which is a classic novel, Pride and Prejudice. So I try to tie in what I like with what I want to write about. So, and from there I also draw in my own experiences. So I think that is how I juggle, because I relate to what I want to write about. Yeah.
MashaAllah. I really love when you shared about that means of empathy. Like, if you haven't read the book, everybody, the first book being New Beginnings, and then second book is Blessed Unions. That is actually one of the core things that I feel actually as a reader. Reading through those 2 books on the means of empathy. Really love the plot. Really love how certain characters meet again. Is that a spoiler?
Whoops.
Yeah, but I really love that, and I would highly recommend for you to read those 2 books, insyaAllah.
Inshallah.
Of course, we are looking forward to the third one, but no pressure on the end.
Not at all.
Okay, so speaking about writing, speaking about your experiences as an author, I guess one of the things that I really want to learn more about today is to know what fuels your creativity. I think creativity is so different and unique to each and every person, and it would be great to learn more about what fuels your creativity from the POV of an author. But if you want to share more on the side of you being a preschool educator, then that's totally fine as well. So, yep, ready to listen.
Okay, so in terms of creativity, I would say that one of my number one inspiration to become an author is this quote by Toni Morrison. I think I've shared this before. She said something like, if there is a book that you want to read which has not been written yet, then you must be the one to write it. So I think growing up, I read a lot of books from the Western authors. I grew up with Roald Dahl, Enid Blyton, R.L. Stein, N.M. Martin, so many different children authors who are all Western or whites. So sometimes I think to myself, even when I was younger, I keep thinking, where are the authors who look like me? Where are the authors who are from Singapore, who are Malays even? So I remember I kind of had a bit of a surprise when I came across Ghost Stories by Uthman Wok when I was younger. So I said, oh, a Malay writer. So maybe I can be like that one day. And I think from there, I decided, okay, at first I started to write books about Westerners, maybe because that's what we grew up with, like in our entertainment industry and everything. But after a while, I said, I think we need to tell stories for ourselves. So I think that is what fuels my creativity, the representation part, for us to have someone write about ourselves. So, and then I think back, who am I? What am I? So I think I am a struggling Muslimah trying to make sense of the world, trying to fit in, trying to achieve my own dreams. So I think that's how I came across writing New Beginnings and eventually Blessed Unions. So in New Beginnings, if you can tell, this there is the normalization of my main character Alisa's daily life. So she wakes up, she prays, she goes to work. So I wanted to have that as something that is common in literature. So I would say what fuels my creativity is the need for representation. Yeah.
Inshallah, that's really beautiful. I'm just wondering also, like, writing New Beginnings itself is definitely a journey on its own. Blessed Union, a journey of its own.
It is.
What continues to fuel you to keep, I guess, writing page after page, chapter after chapter? And I guess it's not just writing, because you will still require creative elements in those plots.
I actually based both on classics. So the plot is somewhat there, the outline is somewhat there, but I of course had to reimagine and put it in the perspective of a Muslimah, like in modern Singapore society. So I was actually inspired by a friend because I was talking to her. I think I was reading and watching lots of Jane Austen adaptations, and I was studying for university as well. So I was like talking to my friend, oh, do you know that a man and a woman can't be alone in a room unchaperoned? They have to be on outings with chaperones around them. Then I was joking to my friend, this is kind of like, halal relationship in Islam. So then I think my friend was like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Someone should write a book about it. And then I was thinking, oh, okay, there it is. So I think I kind of took the outline from there. But of course, I had to change it, to make it fit with our local context. So like in New Beginnings and Blessed Unions, actually, there is a lot of mention about weddings, because I was involved in a lot of weddings, like as bridesmaid many times. And then and also you can see that there is the concept of like Mina Kawin Kawin and all the women talking about weddings and marriages. And I thought that is something that I witnessed a lot. So that's why I tried to incorporate it in the book. So even if it feels like there's no inspiration, I think we just look around our daily lives and see what we want to convey to others. And I think you can find inspiration from there.
Beautiful.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. So, to aspiring writers, here's what you need.
Inspiration from daily life.
Yes, there will always be so much inspiration. I think living in a fast-paced world, I think sometimes we forget to just pause and look around and realize that there are a lot of things that I can learn from, reflect on, be grateful for, and get inspiration from.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, because I'm in a conversation with an author, was there a moment when you were writing, be it New Beginnings or Blessed Unions, like you thought to yourself, maybe this shouldn't be it? Like you felt like you need to stop writing. You felt like, I don't think this is going to come out good, when you have, doubts with the work that you did. I think because sometimes you can be like the worst critic to oneself.
Definitely.
Yeah, but now that you have it all out, I love all of your writings and all of your books. So it's beyond imagination, mashallah.
Well, there is this thing, I don't know whether it's a myth or something. There's this thing called the second book syndrome. So it's something that authors experience because they've already set out their first book. So the first book is supposed to be the one that is the landmark, or like what's the word?
The debut, the benchmark.
The benchmark, yes. Correct. That's the word. Thank you. So it's supposed to be like the benchmark. So everyone will look up to you like, this is what you're going to be writing. This is your forte and everything. So I was very pressured at first. Then I thought, am I supposed to come up with a similar book and a writer who I would say not a writer, a character like Alisa who is very sassy. Am I supposed to have that kind of character? Is that my trademark now? So it was a struggle because for the second book I had very different plans. So I think if you read both books, the two characters are very different.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. They're very different. So I really wanted a story that was somewhat a change from what I presented in New Beginnings. And then there was also a change in the format. I tried to experiment with parallel writing because there's the past and the present in Blessed Unions. So it was a lot of challenge. I remember I spent many days just sitting down and trying to plan out the parallelism of the book, like the past, the present, the past, the present. Does this make sense? Does this should this be in the book and everything? So a lot of criticizing myself, a lot of days where I had to stop and just take a break from writing and everything. And I took a longer time to write this, definitely, especially because I wrote it during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we were in lockdown, and all you have in front of you is a your book or your laptop and you can't really process. But after a while, I think because I kept outlining it and I kept trying to think, if you can write your first book, you can write your second book. Always have that belief in yourself. I think you are your worst critic. You're right. You are always your worst critic, but you can also be your greatest motivator.
Correct. Beautiful, mashallah. So that was written during COVID-19.
Yes.
So New Beginnings was written during your undergrad study.
Yeah, I was still studying at the time. Yeah.
Okay. So was it like two different settings? Like for example, when you were writing New Beginnings, you were at a different state and place of your life.
Oh yeah, I would say so because I think when I was writing New Beginnings, just like Alisa herself, she seems like the entire world is right in front of you. The world is your oyster. There is so many possibilities of what's coming. So you would see that she is more open-minded. She's more outgoing and more active. And I guess I was younger too when I was writing New Beginnings. I was like in my mid 20s. Just about to finish my degree. Oh, the world is out there for me. I'm going to explore the world and everything. But then when I was writing Blessed Unions, the pandemic is one thing, and I was facing some personal struggles as well. So as you can see, the tone is different. There's a bit of listlessness, there's a bit of depression. So I think trying to harness that tone in the book was quite a challenge. So, but I think it's interesting to represent two different characters, two different settings. So I would say that yes, I was in different junctures in my life, but I was happy to be able to share that with my readers, and I think people can sense the difference in the tones of the two books.
Yes. Honestly, I sense it also. I'm trying my best not to fangirl at this moment in time, but yeah, I really love your books. Honestly, I felt that that sense of maturity also in your writing and in your plot for Blessed Unions. And like when you announced about Blessed Unions, and then it was published in Bilal
Books,
also,
yes.
right? My first thought, because the title is already Blessed Unions, like I literally saved it for my wedding day. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this book, but I'm gonna read it after I'm done with like nikah, wedding and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was my first book as a wife. It was my first. I don't know, it just made sense at that point in time. Like I really wanted that to be a special part of my journey also.
MashaAllah.
Like I was really looking for books to read. Like during that wedding week, I was going to Wardah so many times. But I really told myself, okay, Blessed Unions is gonna be the book, and I'm gonna read it after I get married.
After your own Blessed Union.
Yes,
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, beautiful. So thank you so much for being part of my core memory lah. Important.
Thank you for making the book part of your core memory.
Thank you for writing it.
Thank you for reading it.
Okay, I should stop fangirling and move on to the next part. Which is, so you mentioned that with regards to your plot, your writing, you also wanted to provide that POV of a Muslimah, right? From the day-to-day things that you also go through, and wanting to make it also very much relatable lah. In a way, it was also relatable to me because the characters are Muslim women, right? They are striving through life with their own challenges and stuff. So wanting to write from that POV will also require for us to have that sense of Muslimah identity, right, within us. Which brings me to the next point where I want to ask you about what fuels your spirituality, as a Muslim woman who's living in this current era right now, and as an author yourself, being a Muslim women local author.
I would say because for me, I would say that I'm still in my hijrah process. Yeah, so for me, as if you've read Blessed Unions, it's about a woman who goes through hijrah as well. So that part is really a strong part of what I went through. I wanted to show how it is a struggle for some, but it can also come sort of easily for some people. So I think what fills my spirituality is that I can see that how I used to go through things and how I go through things now. I think with the education, with more education, Islamic education and everything, I would say that what fills my spirituality is the feeling of being protected. What is important is that we must always be aware that Allah is always watching over us. And when you are younger, the sense of Allah is watching you is kind of like it's like a warning. But I think as we mature, as we grow up, what I understand is that He's watching over you and protecting you from harm. He's protecting you, He's helping you, He's guiding you. So I think that is what fuels my spirituality in a way, because I actually wrote some things in the past which are different from what I wrote now. It's not in the Muslimah's perspective, and I always think to myself, if this is meant to be published, if this is meant to be read, inshallah that Allah gives it a chance to be published. So my previous work was not published, but Alhamdulillah, New Beginnings was. So I start to think that, perhaps this is my purpose, to share this story about Islam, about a Muslim woman. Perhaps this is what Allah is guiding me towards. So I think that belief that Allah is always guiding you towards what is best for you, what is better, and eventually what is best for you is what fuels my spirituality.
Two things I picked up from your sharing. Number one being the part where you say you feel protected. I think it's beautiful how, in our religion we feel safe, but the safety and the security and the protection that we feel does not stop us from pursuing the things which, insyaAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with.
Yes.
And we can continue to grow as a person and continue to reach out to so many people through our own means.
Yes,
So that would be the first one. Second one will be the part where you mentioned about, perhaps this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in store for you. This could be a sign also.
Yes.
Like, so many things didn't work, but why did this work? Right? So that is beautiful. Because it also reminds me, or it gives me that reflection point of how the things that we do. Yes, we want to benefit many people, we want to get the word out, we want to get the messaging out, but at the end of the day, it's always about realizing that our life is temporal. We're going to die someday. We really want to leave a legacy that will bring benefit to the people and bring benefit to us when we are already in the grave. Because for me, writing stays. Right, your book, insyaAllah, will stay after we have died or after we have passed on. So many people can continue to pick up that book. Many people can continue to benefit from your writing. And I think it's important for us to, insyaAllah, strive to ensure that these are our investments for the hereafter.
Yes, insyaAllah.
To new beginnings and blessed endings.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, speaking about spirituality, just wondering if you have, like, I don't know, a quote or a Quranic verse or a hadith of Prophet that actually gives you a means of motivation. Be it, motivation in your life or motivation in your work or in your writing.
So in Surah Al-Inshirah, when فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. So I think, indeed, there is always relief after every hardship. I think that is one of my main something that motivates me every day, because I feel that, something that appears hard to you now, inshallah, there is a relief for you later, and every pain that you go through, there is a way for Allah to expiate your sins. So that is how I try to motivate myself, to think that, you might be facing pain now, but there will definitely be the reward for you, even if it's not in this life, it is in the hereafter. Yeah, so it's not an something easy for you to digest, because I think for us being in this dunya, with all the illusions and everything, we keep thinking, no, the hereafter is a long way to go, that you can't see it, and us being humans, if we don't see something substantial, we don't easily believe in it. But I think that's where your faith comes in. Yeah,
beautiful. MashaAllah. So indeed, through the hardship that you have gone through to even write those books, Usra is the books that you publish. Alhamdulillah. Okay, one last thing, which is a bonus question, which I didn't prepare you for earlier because it's meant to be bonus. It is a simple one. If there is a message that you would like to tell to the listeners, to the world, what would it be?
Believe that wherever you are right now is the best that can happen for you. This is what Allah meant for you. This is what you are meant to do right now, and this is the best place you can be in at the moment.
Inshallah. Beautifully said. And with that, Alhamdulillah, we have come to the end of today's episode. I really hope that this conversation that I've had with Khairun Atika is one that is inspiring for you. Perhaps to those who are, aspiring writers, or even if you're not, right? Maybe you love to read. Maybe you're just like me, trying my best not to fangirl so much. But at the end of the day, there will always be many inspirations that we can get from the world around us, and especially from the people around us as well. Yeah. So thank you so much once again, Khairun Atika, for being here on this episode with me, and I hope everybody will continue to tune in to the podcast, and hope for you to tune in into the next one, inshallah. So take care, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kita jump.
Okay.